We all like to think that we're in the driver's seat of our own lives, but what if that's not entirely true? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on some uncomfortable truths about why we do the things we do, all based on some really eye-opening source material. So let's just start with a really direct question. Look at the screen. Are you absolutely certain that your thoughts, your choices, your gut reactions, are they really your own? This quote just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It suggests that so much of who we are isn't something we've consciously built. It's more like a pre-installed operating system that's just been running in the background our whole lives, an OS we've never really stopped to examine. Okay, so to understand how this internal programming works, we have to start with this fundamental battle that's happening inside all of our heads. And that's the battle between wanting comfort and seeking truth. This slide just captures that core conflict perfectly. We see ourselves as these rational, logical, truth-seeking beings. But biologically, our brain's number one job isn't to be right. It's to keep us safe. And for our brain, safe almost always means emotionally comfortable. And this right here, this is that first uncomfortable truth. When we're given a choice between a harsh reality that kind of rocks our world and a comforting story that makes us feel secure, our brain is going to nudge us towards that comforting story almost every single time. So what's the main tool the brain uses to keep us in that comfort zone? It's something called self-justification. Honestly, you should think of it as your own internal PR agent. When you snap at a friend, it whispers in your ear, well, they kind of had it coming. It's constantly spinning our actions so that we always come out looking like the reasonable moral hero of our own life story. All right, let's shift gears a bit and see how this internal programming plays out when we actually have to interact with other people. Because, let me tell you, it is a game and we are all playing it, whether we realize it or not. This slide basically lays out the unwritten rules of that game. First off, those first impressions, they are incredibly sticky. We tend to look for evidence to confirm them, not to challenge them. Second, we often end up chasing status. The job titles, the likes, the promotions, even if it costs us our own peace of mind. Third, we are deeply social creatures, so we subconsciously start mimicking the people around us to fit in. And finally, in a conversation, let's be honest, most of us aren't really listening. We're just waiting for our turn to talk. Let's just zoom in on this one idea for a second, because it's a big one. You know that person in the room who just seems so unshakably confident? Well, sometimes that big outward display isn't a reflection of inner certainty at all. It's actually a carefully built shield designed to hide a really deep-seated fear or insecurity. And that brings us to maybe the most crucial point of all. The ultimate currency in this whole social game isn't money. It's validation. It's attention. That deep, almost primitive need to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be approved of. That is a more powerful motivator than almost anything else. Okay, so if our minds are basically hardwired for comfort and for social approval, how in the world does anyone ever actually change? Well, that brings us to our next really essential theme. How many times have you heard yourself or someone else say, "Oh, I'm just so busy"? Well, according to our source material, this constant state of busyness can be a very sophisticated way to avoid ourselves. We use all the noise of our to-do lists and obligations to drown out that quiet space where we might actually have to confront what's really going on inside. This slide maps out the path to change, and it's not negotiable. We all start out in avoidance. That's our comfort zone. Then something happens, a setback, a failure, a hard truth, and that causes pain. It's only by turning and facing that discomfort head-on that we can ever get to real, lasting growth. And this, right here, is the core takeaway. We just don't evolve when things are easy. Comfort leads to stagnation. Discomfort, that's the catalyst. It's the signal that the old way of doing things isn't working anymore, and it forces us to adapt. Now, I know this all might seem a little bit grim, but here's the good news. Understanding the program is the very first step to rewriting it. And that brings us to our final and honestly our most powerful section. The most important point of this entire explainer is right here. You cannot change a program you don't even know is running. Simply by becoming aware of these tendencies that pull towards comfort, the social status games, the avoidance tactics, you start to take away their power over you. And this just captures that final idea perfectly. Knowing these uncomfortable truths about ourselves isn't supposed to be a burden.
It's a key. It's what unlocks the ability to pause, to question an impulse, and to consciously choose a different path. And that is the beginning of real freedom.
So, we're going to end on this question. If anything you've seen here today has made you feel a little exposed, maybe a little unsettled, that's actually not a bad thing. It means it's working. That little bit of discomfort is the very first sign of awareness. The only question left is, what are you going to do with it?